So last week, the public went 1-3 ATS. So they went from 3-1 in 2022 to 1-3 ATS this year. So basically 500 over the last 2 years. Nothing too crazy because the public didn't bet more than 65% on any of the games. So they ended up backing the Lions 52% of the bets and then failing to cover in every other game.
Yeah, the Lions we had touched on before were a really solid team when the public was on them. So I think next time we got to take a closer look at that on how the teams do with how the public and money, et cetera, are on them. Talk about that on the 2 games here since we can go a little bit more in depth with just 2 games left in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. It's interesting when, especially like that's part of the reason that we track this is to see that, teams like the Lions are phenomenal when the public backs them ATS wise, and the Lions just generally were very good ATS this season. So right now the Lions currently sit with 52% of the bets, but both of these games, I think it's really going to be publicly split. I don't think either side are going to have more than 60% of the tickets. If we look to last year, yeah, both games were under 65% of the bets in the conference championship week. So I don't expect, there to be a pure public side in this week, but we'll see. Moving to totals. Totals went 3-1. Our public went 3-1 on the over because they only bet overs. The public did not back an under. The same thing that happened last year, but obviously they went 0-4 last year because every game went under. One game went under, and that was the Packers and Niners game. That was an interesting one. I mean, clearly the Packers looked like they were going to have it in the bag, and the Jordan Love interception at the end gave Brock Purdy the chance, and the questions about Brock Purdy being just assistant quarterback and what the Niners actually are really prevalent right now, and I'm curious if that's going to impact a lot of people's bets. I'm sure it will, but I'm kind of on the flip side. I'm kind of seeing it as like this is a bit of a Niners dip at this point in the season. What do you think?
Yeah, we can talk about it a little bit more when we get there, but my thoughts are right there with you where I do feel that if I want to see if the line moves at all before I place my bet, but my first inclination was to take -7 with the Niners because I do feel like this is a nice spot for them, especially at home. There is a lot of hype surrounding the Lions, especially after they've now gotten more playoff wins than they ever have before heading into this round. And I do think that it's an exciting time to be a Detroit Lions fan, but this is where it ends. I mean, once you guys went down and the Cowboys went down, I said it last week that now the Niners have a free pass to get this.
Yeah.
And I do have a gut feeling, and it's just being a sports fan, like, whenever there are these like surefire opportunities where you feel like the 2 best teams are going to make it to the championship in any sport, it doesn't happen. Like somebody plays spoiler. I feel like the Chiefs are the more likely option here, and obviously the spread says that too, since it's a much tighter spread. But I just don't really feel that way with the Lions, where I'm right there with you, where I feel like even at 7, it does feel like this is a nice little buy low spot for the Niners because of the narrative right now, which is incredible to say heading into a conference championship that we feel this way.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it because there's a lot of angles to take it from, and props to the Lions for doing this well, but the spread says that, it might come to an end here. Going on with the trends, though, public obviously did back the under, just so they went 3-1 on the over, so nothing there. Money percentage 2-2, sharp differential 3-1 ATS. So we've seen the sharp differential do pretty well in this postseason. They're now 6-4, and historically, I'll get to it when we talk about the 2022 trends, but they do really well in this conference championship, and they have done really well in the playoffs. So I'm going to be, keeping an eye on that, and we have some major sharp differential things showing as of right now in the public betting trends because, the money's severely on one side where the public's kind of split in both games. So we'll definitely touch on that. Money percentage on the over, 1-1, sharp differential on the over, 1-1, breaking the streak of 6-0 for the sharp differential on the totals because they also went 0-2 backing the under, and money percentage went 0-2 back in the under. So again, not too much data there, but interesting nonetheless as we continue to aggregate data over the years that we do this. So still fun to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into it and see the actual levels that we see from a game-to-game standpoint.
Yeah. I know that you're curious, Andy, what happened last year. Not too much data, obviously, as well. Public went 1-1 in the conference championship weeks. Again, neither side had more than 65% of the bets. They actually backed the Eagles and ended up covering when the Eagles were 1.5 point favorites. and then the public backed the Chiefs, but the Chiefs did not. I'm sorry, the public actually backed the Bengals 63%, and the Chiefs obviously ended up winning that one. And it was a pick 'em. Public went 0-1 on the total, or on the over, 1-0 on the under. Money percentage went 1-1. Sharp differential 2-0. Like I said, very good in these later halves. And one game was 22% sharp differential toward the Eagles, and then the Chiefs had a 9% sharp differential last year. Money and sharps did not back the over, and then both games went under. So I don't have any trends to back this, Andy, but I really think that as we get later and later into the season, especially like the postseason, I should say, teams are really just tightening up, and I don't expect we're going to see many like flashing plays, and especially like I think Dan Campbell's going to be pretty aggressive, but I still think Kyle Shanahan's going to play fairly conservative and, not really rush anything, and we're going to see a lot of unders happen because of that. And then look to the Chiefs and Ravens game, two phenomenal defenses. So obviously points to talk about, but that's just kind of what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a valid point, especially in the Lions and Niners game when you see a total of 51 to talk about that, where if the Niners play their game, yeah, they'll be able to get points on the board like nobody else, but are the Lions actually going to be able to pull that off against a rather stout 49ers defense?
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Is there anything you want to talk about before we just roll into the games? I know we're gonna try and hit some player props. We can talk about the Super Bowl a little bit after we get to the games. But yeah, is there anything you want to get to?
Do you buy into this conspiracy theory that the colors of the Super Bowl logo dictate which two teams are going to make it?
That's a great question.
If you do, we can just go ahead and say who's gonna make it, because
yeah, might as well.
Because we know that there is only one purple team left. Even though there are two red teams left, there is only one purple team left. So that means it has to be the Niners and the Ravens, which is everyone's prediction.
It would be insane.
Yeah, I think it's the third or fourth year in a row that would happen.
Yeah, I love the script discussions in the NFL because they're obviously nonsense, but it adds a lot of funny discourse talking about the NFL, because there are actually genuine people that believe that the NFL is scripted, and their specific bets that they're placing are losing because the game is scripted, which is just nonsense. These players make millions of dollars and are competitive as hell. They're not gonna let anything like that blow blow their chances of winning or whatever. So that's all nonsense. The colors thing is kind of crazy. Goodell might be doing some witchcraft or something, but next year I hope it's green. That's all I'll say.
And this is Super Bowl 58 that we're on, correct?
I honestly don't even know the numbers, but yeah,
I think this is Super Bowl 58. Yeah, that's correct. LVIII. I was trying to look up what the next Super Bowl logo was, if they've already generated it, because Aaron Rodgers was talking about it, and he was saying, God, I hope that the logo is dark green. But
yeah,
then it could mean you guys. That would mean you guys
I'm okay with dark green. I'm okay with dark green. Maybe a little bit of blue. We'll get a little bit of blue for you. Get the Colts in there. Who's also blue? Chargers, Lions.
Dude, but a dark blue, and like a royal blue and Kelly Green Super Bowl logo would look like shit. Let's be honest. It's not going to be a good looking logo.
Kelly Green's too obvious. Yeah, they got to be a little more subtle. Like the purple could have been the Texans. It could have been the Ravens, right? So they had to keep us thinking.
I don't even know if I talked to you for 2 weeks if the Colts had met the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
just be disgraceful texts. Yeah,
my dad would chirp you every day.
I'd get all the memes. So would Ethan. Oh my God. that one day it'll happen. In the next 80 years that we're living, it'll probably happen.
Yeah, we'll see.
But anyway, all right. This has been awesome. I'm really excited to get into this. And then, so our plan will be, obviously we just kind of finished up the conference championships. We'll probably have a short episode next week, just kind of talking about the season, talking about what we think the Super Bowl is going to be like. We'll hit a little bit, maybe of some player props and stuff, but not necessarily what we're betting for the Super Bowl. And then the week following will be Super Bowl discussion purely, finalizing everything, kind of bringing up more trends and stuff. Probably 2 smaller episodes as opposed to like one big one about the Super Bowl. But we'll talk about it and let you guys know on Twitter if anything else changes. As always, appreciate the support. It's been so much fun. Excited to get into the championships weeks, Andy. It's going to be great.
You know what I'm even more excited for, DJ, is the random ass Super Bowl props that we're about to get here in just a few days. It's going to be absolutely beautiful to just see not your regular couple hundred bets next to one game. There's going to be several different menus to explore, And that is the beauty of the Super Bowl betting season. So I can't wait to get into that. Can't wait to dive into this conference championship a little bit more with you as the week goes along. Looking forward to your article that comes out on happyhoursports.net every Sunday. So be sure to check that out.
If you're watching on YouTube, link in description, as always.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. A pleasure as always. Best of luck. Let's cash this underdog lineup. We haven't done one of these live on the pod before, so I think it's fun. And yeah, the boys bet better with beer.